to Late Breakfast, everybody. I'm Torian B.
I'm First Class Reg.
And this week, we are going to talk about Jay-Z, the NFL, Colin Kaepernick, and Dame Dash. No, I'm just playing. Why is Dame so bad at Jay? All right, anyway. We have some special guests here, and we have some usual suspects. Everybody, we got my boy in the building, Robbie Digital.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Ivana.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go. That's her signature. That's her signature. She did that in like 3 videos. I peeped that. All right. We have Mr. Jameer here.
Hi. Let's go.
How are you?
And we have the lovely Miss Junae Brown.
Woo!
For this week's topic, we have to have like a serious talk, and Jameer keeps laughing because he can't take shit in life serious.
That's true.
Right? All right. So last week, the news came out that Jay-Z has struck a deal with the NFL. This is what we know, right? This is what we know.
What do we know?
We know that he will.
Wow.
Whoa. Rob.
Oh, no, leave it.
Let's list the facts.
On
camera.
Let's list off the facts. He will be. Jay-Z will be in charge of the production of entertainment for the NFL now. That includes the Super Bowl and other halftime shows and events. So that means Rock Nation artists will have first dibs on these events. The NFL is one of the most watched sports in the world, right? So he has that. Also, there's an native for social injustices, which many people were like police brutality. Like he's going to be heading up that, making sure that the NFL like stays on top of that. Just like how the NFL does breast cancer awareness, they do walks for the troops. So basically, Jay-Z will start an initiative like that. That's the example to give people when they're like, well, what is he going to do for social injustice with the police brutality and stuff like that. Basically, we will have like a police brutality month or something like that. Just like we have like a breast cancer month in the NFL.
Oh my God.
Right? So, obviously from that, everybody wanted to know what was happening. The next thing we know, the clips came out and Jay-Z was asked when he kneeled, and he said, I think they were past kneeling. I think it ruffled a lot of feathers. I think that was the thing. Like people are always skeptical when you see someone getting in bed with a bunch of people that you think are racist. Right? But I don't think that was the biggest problem. I think the biggest problem was that when the answer that he gave to kneeling, but it was edited. If you watch the full 30-minute interview, it looks a little different. But when you see it in a 10-second clip, it sounds really bad.
Media.
So, with that whole little summary of everything, who wants to go first?
On what?
I don't want you to go first, Rob.
I want to go first.
Ivana,
I'll
you
go
go
first.
ahead.
I'm a Jigga fan since the beginning of time. And this was difficult
He
for
is
me.
that old.
Damn.
This is difficult for me to swallow because I have an issue with stan culture in the sense that I'm really cognizant of the fact that we're all human. So I think that there's 2 things going on here. One, this deal is messy. From the beginning, not enough information was out. Then information started leaking and it was confusing. And did he tell people not to do things? And then you think bringing up, Travis in the Super Bowl and his thoughts on Cap as a part of Rock Nation, all these other things. So my issue is we keep putting celebrities in this position of sainthood when we think that they're supposed to represent so many things that we all represent. However, Hov has put himself in a position where he basically says that he wants to do for the community and push the community forward, yada, yada, yada. So with all of that aside, to me, as a fan, anybody who's paid attention for his whole career, I think that before anything else and above anything else, he's a hustler. He's always been a hustler. So he saw a move in a capitalist deal, and he's capitalist Hov. Like, he's the first billionaire in hip-hop. This is typical to me. It wasn't shocking to me. I think that the conversation is shifting to Cap and the movement versus Hov, and I think that's where we're sadly getting to the point where, like, it's us all bickering and fighting against each other when we really need to be looking at the situation at large. Am I comfortable with the fact that nobody knows whether or not Cap and Hov had conversations? No. Am I saying that he's 100% right for making these moves or that police brutality month is going to change anything or whatever the source may be? No. But I'm also just not shocked, and I don't get why everybody's acting so like, how could you do this? How can? And it's just like, what do you expect from anyone who's a billionaire? Period.
Can I go down?
No, it's not your turn.
To make money, they'll make money.
Junae, I would like to hear from you.
So apparently, according to USA Today, right?
You got notes.
Facts.
Let's go.
Apparently, Cap's girlfriend,
Nessa
Nessa,
Nessa.
she apparently said something where she was just like, there were no conversations, and she's like disgusted and super disappointed with this whole thing. However, just to put that out there, as far as like, did he have a conversation with Cap? So the other thing is this though: do we really have enough information to cast a full judgment? I get people's feathers being ruffled because it's like he was in the beginning and one of the forward faces of that entire movement of the whole thing. But it's like we don't have enough information, in my opinion, for us to cast an entire judgment. Because yes, it obviously is definitely a good business move for him because he wouldn't do it if it wasn't. But I think that it's a little more than that. And I just honestly, it's very hard for me to believe that there isn't some sort of plan in place already or being like strictly formulated to make this something that works for us as well. There's no way. And I mean beyond just us controlling the entertainment portion of the NFL and the Super Bowl and everything else. Like there has to be something in there for us. There's no way that he struck that deal, and even like Meek's relationship with the NFL owner of the
Robert Kraft.
Robert Kraft. Like there's definitely things happening, and even Diddy, when everything first happened, he was somebody who discussed wanting to really like get in with the NFL and own it. Now my thing is this: I'm not sure why. I mean, honestly, think of it this way too: like the reasoning why he didn't consult Cap. Allegedly, whatever that reasoning is a different conversation. But speaking just from the fact of like, do I think that Hov sold us out for a check? I don't think that. And I also don't think that, yes, that's a big bag, but I think he's a little beyond the point where he would need to do that. That's my honest opinion. I think because things got leaked and the media had a chance to make it a mess, and like we got half of a press conference and a couple of quotes that everybody's pulling out their ass, like we don't know the full story. And another thing about Hov is he's not rolling nothing out till he's ready to roll it out. Yeah. Until he's ready to present the full package, we ain't getting shit. We could talk all we want. He could care less. Like everybody over at Rock and whoever is going to keep it airtight, they probably don't even know everything. So I think we should give him a couple of minutes. But I do understand.
Couple of minutes?
A couple of minutes.
A couple of minutes, some weeks.
Give him 5.
Chicka what? Chicka boo. H to the is no.
You need to stop.
That was very creative.
I think that as a black community, we are very emotional, and it doesn't take much support on our heartstrings. I think that as much as I respect Hov, I don't remember electing Hov as the black delegate to speak for the black delegation, in my opinion. So I think that for one, this all boils down to Kaepernick as well. Kaepernick has had the luxury of not saying anything for the past 3 years. And because we don't know how Cap feels about anything, this is where all the speculative information comes from for Hov doing whatever he's doing and throwing it into Cap. We knew from the moment that Meek and Robert Kraft was hanging out and Hov was with Roger Goodell that this was going to be in the works.
No, we didn't.
Nah, I didn't know anything.
I didn't know.
We didn't know that,
Rob.
Rob.
See the
One
foresight?
could infer.
If you didn't see the
You can see
foresight,
the foreshadowing,
that's
like-
your fault.
What you mean that's my fault? Because
So you
Meek
knew
Mill is
from
hanging
jump.
out with Robert Kraft. I know that Jay-Z's going to
Jay don't
become
hang out-
in charge of production and entertainment. That
Jay
means
don't hang
nothing.
out with
Jay-Z hangs
nobody.
out with Barack Obama. Is he going to become a congressman?
I mean, he's been involved in political stuff.
No, but I'm just saying
How
that
often
doesn't
do you
mean
see
he's
him
going to
pub-
become a
But how
congressman.
often do you see him publicly with somebody that he's not probably doing business with or going to end up doing
Jay-Z
business with?
also
He's
is a
billionaire.
huge
Billionaires
Dallas
do not-
Cowboy fan, and he be on the field
That's
at
what I said.
Cowboys games.
Billionaires do not hang out with people that they not breaking bread with or trying to break bread with, or the person trying to break bread with them.
I'm not saying that, but we've never seen Jay-Z hanging out with Robert Goodell until this happened. We saw Jay-Z with Jerry Jones. We saw him with Robert Kraft. Rob just alluded to saying that
It's
he was
all
going to do a deal.
affiliates, though.
White people.
You had.
All right, and there it
You
is.
had something else to
Just
add?
saying.
All right.
You had something else you want
Nah, Rob is done. Jameer,
All right. I think
Nigga said this Queen Radio.
Nigga took away your
Freedom!
mad bombs with this job. Everybody's made strong points here. I'm from Brooklyn, downtown Brooklyn.
Talk about it, Queen.
Don't call me a queen. It's not my forte. This is a different era. I might have came over there. All right. I'm from downtown Brooklyn, I've seen the Barclay Arena be built. Mm-hmm. I've seen what it's done. I was protesting it like back in like 2010, 2011. When Letitia James, the councilwoman, was in a protest for it because ultimately we knew what would happen. But Jay-Z was the spokesperson for the Barclay. He went out there, he promised people jobs in the community, and ultimately the Barclay did that, right? It provided jobs for people living in the community. However, those people who did live in the community could no longer afford to live in the community. And I'm not saying this is all Jay-Z's fault. I'm saying it's urban planning, but Jay-Z had a part in it as being the spokesperson. And I say that to say this. I don't know what Jay is going to do, right? I don't know his intentions. I don't know his plans. I do agree that something will get done. But I think Jay is smart. Because I think Jay is smart. Jay realizes a lot of his money now is in social activism. He realized that he is the big homie of the hip-hop industry. He's giving money so that 21 Savage could get a good lawyer and come back, to America. Meek Mill's situation is good.
He wrote in the paper for
Wrote in the paper. Trayvon Martin.
Black Lives Matter. He bailed people out of jail.
Yes. So we Khalid Browder.
So you mean giving chickens out during Thanksgiving?
No.
Number one is turkeys.
No.
And number two, he's done a lot more than you.
Wait. So no. So here's what I'm gonna say. Oh, we fucking with the lights. Here's what I'm gonna say.
That's Jay-Z.
Because you're absolutely right in a certain regard. Once we see people do, and I'm not even gonna call it surface level shit, but once we see people do a certain amount of things that we deem as important, and especially because it's coming from Hov, there's gonna be a certain level of appeasement that we're just, I think, maybe not here at the table, but a lot of black and brown people are gonna be like, all right, Hov, it's cool. Some people might.
You say it's cool. I guess it's cool.
Exactly. So, some people are going to be like, well, police brutality month. He's trying to change shit. When in all actuality, yes, he's doing something. But you're not going to stop police brutality with a police brutality month. So all I'm saying is that I feel like Hov is going to do something. The level of what he's going to do, I personally don't feel like it's going to stop cops from shooting black people in the back of the head.
Is he Jesus?
No. I'm not saying he's Jesus, but the way people are looking at this situation is that Hov is gonna come in. Some people, yes, Hov is gonna come in, and he's gonna really, he's gonna come in the NFL. He's gonna really shake things up to the point where ain't gonna be no more racial discrimination. You can't think like that.
But this is going off, just to add, I'm sorry to cut you off. Okay. Just to add to that, this is going off his track record of what we've seen. Like you said, Hov is that person that kind of sets forth what we follow.
Yes.
The blueprint, so to speak. So
I like
when
that.
You have,
I see what you did. Now I was going to say KRS already, you know the thing. You know the thing. You've been there.
But when you say,
he works with Jay-Z now.
When you set along the guideline of how people look to you, because he's been that first figure in hip hop for us, right? So the Free and the 21 Savage, the Meek Mill situation, everything like that. So we've seen his track record. So it's kind of, we just want to see something that makes sense at this point.
Yes.
But there's very little to pull from. Right now, it's very down the middle. You can't hate Jay-Z for this, and you can't love him for this, because we don't know anything yet.
I want to say two things. I do think that we're at a point right now. If this was any other moment in time, maybe we would feel different. But I think that as a community, everybody's very polarized right now. You look at who we have in office. You look at the things that are going on in the world, and these are things that have been going on since before our time, even. But it's just with the age of social media and all this availability to trauma porn and just watching all these things go down. People are sensitive or heated right now, and because we put him at a certain pedestal and he's done so much for the community and we expect so much from someone like that. People are polarized. They're on different sides. They're like, okay, we could trust him with this. We could leave this in his hands. And the other side is like, why would you even break bread with people you told us to stay away from? You told
That's
us not to
true.
watch, and you told us not to participate. And now what are you up to? So I do agree. We gotta give him time to see what he's gonna roll out. I do think that he's in the position that he is as a person because of how genius he is in a lot of respects. But it's scary and it makes people uncomfortable because we're like nobody wants to get let down either. Like, it's almost like we feel like it's a betrayal. Like nobody wants to be that guy capping for Hov and then you turn around and we're like, fuck, we were wrong.
And then we gotta be like, is it Uchiwali or what Mike?
I have a thing, right?
What's your thing?
My thing is this.
Go ahead, Brother Tori.
Number one, we don't know everything, right? And number two, what's the problem with being pro Kaepernick and being pro Jay?
I think it was from the remark.
Even if, let's say, he didn't say the remark, I feel that people still be skeptical because that people don't trust Jay as much as we think that they trust him.
I don't think anybody trusts anybody. Is you
I do.
for something?
No,
people trust Beyonce a whole lot.
Yeah,
I think
people trust Beyonce
like
with their children.
I think people are very like pick a side.
Yeah.
And I think it's like, speaking to what you said, it's the climate we're in. It's like same thing. Like you can't be a Trump apologist and say you on the right side of history. Either pick a side. And I think that's the problem with this. One, he hasn't said anything, and two, it's like, so what side are you really on?
Yeah.
Because last year you told us don't do this. You was helping out Al Cap, all this other stuff, and then now we're finding out you struck a deal. It's like finding out somebody's cheating on you.
I don't think there's a sense of betrayal because number one, like his intentions are good. My thing is all about intent. So I don't think that Jay's intent is to screw us over and be like, yeah, I'm gonna tell y'all we're gonna do something for police brutality, but I ain't gonna do shit. I think he's gonna try his best.
But what? All right. So my question is though, what can we do about police brutality from a standpoint of the NFL?
Nothing.
I think, but this is
I don't think my personal thing is that I'm so happy that what Cap did and what the attention that Cap brought to police brutality. But I think that's what the mistake is that people now think that it has to be something done. Like the NFL is going to stop police brutality. Like if the NFL gets on board,
stop police brutality. They wanted the NFL to acknowledge that it is okay to speak on these things. And what they did is they took money out of that man's pocket and the only career he's ever trained for his entire life and told him, we don't want you to have an opinion. We just want you to play.
So let's talk about
1 + 1 = 2 to me. So obviously Hov is saying, okay, I'm going to be that ally. I'm going to ensure that they respect and acknowledge our issues. And I'm going to ensure that there's never another Cap again. Like, that's what I'm assuming has to be his thing.
But
you know what I mean? Like, the
owner.
deal.
You don't do that as a sideshow act.
Okay, but a sideshow act? Do you really think that Sean Carter
there are
signed
32
anything
teams
that
in
is
the
really
NFL.
a sideshow
You are not
act?
an owner. When you are an owner and you actually make a decision in the NFL, that changes
But
shit.
if you
This is the same thing that would happen with
you
the
don't know,
NBA.
but you have no idea of the details of his positioning with
We
the
don't know a
NFL.
lot.
We
We
do
don't
know that
know.
he's not on the team,
Yeah, we
right?
don't
Because
know.
he cannot matter.
I don't think that calling him a sideshow act is
crazy.
I do think that that's crazy. I think that if things don't go the way that Jay intends to do, I think he will step away from it just like how he stepped away from Barclays. Like I know that Jay stepped away also because like you can't be a sports agent and you can't own a team.
Right.
But Jay also wasn't happy with things were going with Barclays, so that's why he stepped back. Like his intent was good. Like he's trying. Like we have some people that don't give a fuck about us. Like we have some entertainers that they be like, "Why don't you get back to the community?" And they be like, "Fuck the community. The community tried to rob me." Like we have niggas that say shit like that, right?
I understand.
Like so, like niggas, like so we have. So all I'm saying is this: I'm not with like some people might say I'm wearing a Jay-Z cape. Some people might say that I'm blind. Like, but my thing is that he tries. Well, like that's all. That's all. Like if you try. Like, my mother always told me that, baby, as long as you try.
Feelings towards police brutality to try and find a solution, or are we hell-bent on the how, the who, and the why?
People don't know if he's an ally or not.
But
you could see
Maybe.
it as like a PR cleanup, though.
But either
What's
way,
that we let Cap down, we didn't give him back his job, the settlement went through, nobody ever gave him an offer. But now, don't worry, because we're gonna work with not just your favorite, but everybody's favorite.
Y'all about to have a lit ass Super Bowl. Y'all Super Bowl gonna be fire.
Okay, so in this situation, who do you think sought out who? Do you think Jay-Z came to them with like some kind of plan?
I think the NFL came to them and
it was
like,
a Lyndon B. Johnson MLK thing. Like, yo, the
they
black
fucked
people
each
are
other.
rioting. What can we do? You
Yeah.
are the representative of the black community. My problem is, if you really want to create social change and social justice, then why are you not standing with the senators, the councilmen, the aldermen that are in the city who are actively fighting every day.
See,
what are you talking about? Jay-Z absolutely does that.
Wait.
You said, so what are you saying? You sound misinformed, my brother.
Yeah, and
it's the most watched sporting, like, besides like
football.
Football is it.
Soccer. Well, soccer, football.
Soccer is the world. I'm talking about in America. I'm talking about America. America is football.
You need allies on the inside as well as allies on the ground.
And an
Jameer, you tell me,
powerful ally.
Jameer and Junae, you tell me what happens when the white person says, "Well, we got Jay-Z, and Jay-Z likes the NFL, so I don't see what the problem is." That is going to happen.
Well, I'm reverse though. What about the reverse? What about when we make the Super Bowl black as fuck, and when it's if and when the Super Bowl is black as fuck and it's full of anti-police brutality, and they actually create some sort of social phenomenon with it? If and when they do that, and the same racist person says, "What the fuck?" and it's outrage at that.
So
what
you mean
is
when
that not
Beyonce
progressive?
performed at the Super Bowl and they vilified her?
Okay, but it still makes a
And
statement.
we
And
watched it happen, and we defended Beyonce about it, and said it was super fucking black, and we said, fuck the NFL if you don't like what she did.
Yeah,
it's black, we're gonna support it. And the NFL was like, we're not even gonna fucking show it over. It was
when did they show over NFL halftime shows? What do you mean they're not gonna show it over? What are you talking about?
All that foolishness for that, and we looked and said, yo,
let me find out Rob is making up shit on the go.
Because I don't think that the Super Bowl halftime show is gonna be America's Kumbaya. I don't think that's gonna happen. I just don't see Beyonce doing a routine good enough where white people go, you know what? I'm gonna stop shooting niggas.
Yeah.
Like if I had the money, I wouldn't get in bed with the NFL. But I'm also not expecting Jay-Z to put on a cape and sweep up police brutality or sweep up racism through. But there are a lot of people who are diehard Jay-Z fans and can't separate the businessman from the rapper who we all have grown with.
So we've been invited to the room and we have a seat at the table.
Yeah.
Are we grateful for the seat at the table, or do we think it's not worth it?
I think that me sitting at the table can make significant change of the outcome of what happens when we walk out of the door. I may sit at the table versus there's a room with none of us there. And I think that's the piece that people aren't thinking about. I think we're assuming that it's like, oh, it's all about money, it's this, it's that, or what is he really gonna be able to do? But I honestly would rather have an ally at the table.
I would first have to ask myself, like, why am I at this table? Now, if I am at the table though, I have to also expect, if I am on my pro-black shit, if I am on my revolutionary shit, that I've been invited to the table. Now it's time to infiltrate as best as I can.
Shaking the table.
We going to shake. Even if we don't shake the table, we passing shit under the table. If you're saying social justice, but the only thing you're benefiting from is monetary.
There were moments in history like Jackie Robinson joining the Major League Baseball.
He was a little iffy with his though, bro.
But no, what I'm saying is, Jackie Robinson was iffy with his, right?
He was.
But what I'm saying is that Jackie Robinson could have said no and stayed in the Negro Leagues and made the Negro Leagues. Like, it would have had no choice because they had the best athletes. But he went and did something that a lot of people frowned upon, and he went through a lot, and he made like a big, huge difference, right?
Sure.
So I'm not saying that Jay-Z is Jackie Robinson because he doesn't even fucking play a position in the game.
No, he does not.
But he's doing something.
He's in the bases without even.
Yeah.
Please finish your
But
point.
all I'm saying is just that I think that there's something that Jay-Z can do. I don't think that Jay-Z has bad intent. I don't think that Jay-Z doesn't give a fuck. I don't think that Jay-Z does things like he's a fucking politician. He's not a politician. He doesn't have to do any of the things that he does. He doesn't have to donate any of the money that he donates, right? Like, he's made good and he tries to give back the best that he can. We have a lot of other entertainers and people that have money of color that don't give a fuck about social injustices. Reg.
Well, I mean, what can I say that everybody hasn't said, right? But if I was getting back to your point about being at the table, I would have to ask myself why I'm at this table. I would have to take notes at this table. There's a lot of shit that needs to change that I think Jay-Z is on the path of trying to do. Like now, like I said earlier, we don't know the details of anything. Right. So it's really hard to like really make a point about this, but we're in such a era where people make articles about 1 minute fucking clips.
One line.
One line.
About one
and
line
I mean, and that's one thing that Jay-Z did wrong. I mean, I think the way that he carried himself in that clip was what was so triggering because he was so lax. He was just the way he said it didn't seem so like.
I might be the only one who took like we're past kneeling, like not out of.
I didn't take it either.
When I heard the whole thing,
no, when I saw it, I said to myself, "We're past kneeling means we need to do more than just kneel." That's how I took it.
But
and I don't think that's a bad thing to say. That's fact.
But I think there was emotion, but not even just that. But you can get very emotional from seeing.
That's what I was saying.
How someone like carries themselves and the way that they say certain shit. And Hove is a very chill, laid back dude. And this is unfortunately one of those situations you can't be like that. So he had to articulate himself in a better way, and he just didn't do that.
I will say the whole clip, it explains a lot better actually.
I think the question I want to ask me is what is my seat worth? I think
that's a good question too.
I think that everybody has said a lot of things, and I do agree with what you're saying. But if my seat is not going to invoke change, actual change, where some little black kid in middle America who is not represented well is going to look at me and say, I can too be an NFL owner. I can actually sit at the table, not the table that's designed for me to sit at. That's the table I want to sit at.
But you don't know what table he's sitting at because we
don't know what table we see though.
Yeah, we're going to leave it on that.
I was asking him.
Robbie wrong as fuck sometimes, everybody. It's cool.
Rob has an opinion. Rob has an opinion.
Rob just don't like Jay-Z, and it's all good. But everybody, I'm Tori and B.
I'm First Class Reg.
Thank you guys for watching. We'll catch you guys next time.